All right, guys, welcome back. We're going to talk about pillar number one. Remember in this first video recap, the first episode, whatever you want to call it, I said I'm going to give it to you raw, unfiltered, uncut. I'm probably going to stutter my words, but I appreciate you. My name's Nick. I'm 35 years old. I currently live in Thailand. If you want to get to know more about me and what I do and what I offer and the value I'm going to give, go and watch episode number one. And that's going to give you pure value from the 4 pillars that I'm going to cover, which is fitness, business, mindset, and a little bit of dating. These are the 4 things that I struggled with when I was in my 20s that I've now mastered. Well, I won't say mastered, but I'm pretty good at in my 30s. And I want to share that knowledge with you guys because I want to help the younger version of myself. But today's episode, we're specifically going to speak about pillar number 1, and that's fitness. How to go from perhaps couch potato to Greek god statue. And I'm going to give you my exact insights and the things that you really need to be focusing on in order to get to where you want to be fitness-wise. I don't help guys drop 5 kilos. I don't help women get into wedding dresses and just like little transformations. The transformations of the people I've worked with for the last 15 years is going from where they are to an extreme level of look, physique, body fat. I've helped tons of men's physique guys become national champions, pros, win shows, win prize money, all of that sort of stuff. The guys that I help, they either want to be a men's physique competitor or have that men's physique look. These are the types of extreme transformations that I do. If you look on my page, you're going to see that throughout. And I've been doing it online for the last 8 years full time. I'm not one of these new online coaches that just because it's a trend or whatever it is that I've just jumped on board. I've been doing this for a long time and I've got the experience and the testimonials to prove all the methods that I have work. I'm not someone that's just jumping from trend to trend to trend to trend. You know why? Because I've done them all. There's so many trends out there. People are jumping on this next thing and this next thing. I've done them all. I've seen them all. None of these trends are new. They go round in circles. Some of them are from 20 years ago. I tried that 20 years ago. And now all of a sudden it's really popular. Some of them, but what I'm finding is the recycle date of things now that social media is so fast is getting crazy quick. It's like now trends are lasting for a month before they're dead. Used to like trends would come in for a year or 2 years, they'd fizzle out and a new one would come in. And now it's like 1 month. And that's because of the social media trends where things are just getting really crazy. But anyway, enough of that. There's 5 things when it comes to getting to an extreme level of physique that matter. And that's it. There's no more than these. I call them the 5 pillars of progress. And what you've got to understand is, let's say there's a bike wheel and this bike wheel has 5 spokes coming off it. Okay. You take one spoke out of the wheel and the wheel stops spinning. And that's the way it works. There's none of this like 80% diet and 20% training. It's 100% of these 5 things, which is not unachievable, right? Because right now, more than ever, there's so much information online that it's like so much information that just paralyzes you. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to look. Look, this is what I say, guys. If you follow me, follow the advice that I teach, I'm going to literally give out all of my knowledge through these episodes so you guys can navigate your way becoming your best possible physique you can. Not only that, if you're a coach yourself and you help others, the information and the knowledge that I'm about to drop on you guys, you can help grab that, implement it, and teach it to the people you know. But always make sure that you credit Nick, okay? That's the deal. Is that fair? Or even better, just share my content, share my episodes with someone who needs to hear it. Hey, this is the guy who I learned from. And you'll see, based on how long I've been doing it for and the results that I've proven time and time again, that there is credibility into what I say. I don't just read Google for like forums and just wing it and all this sort of stuff. I've done it pretty much all. And so I've seen it from all angles. I've seen the fitness industry evolve. I've seen it from all angles. And anyway, going back to the 5 pillars of progress, take out one of these spokes and they'll fall forward. And I'm going to go through what these 5 spokes are. And I'm going to go through different things in detail. You know, I help guys build aesthetics and get super ripped, go from couch potato to Greek god. And I've helped over 1,000 guys. And you can go back to my last episode, and that explains the business side of things. But I'm not here to talk about business on this video. I'm here to talk to you about extreme transformations and getting to that physique that you want to be. And pillar number 1 is this. Okay, remember, 5 pillars in the spokes, 5 spokes in the wheel. Take out 1 spoke, the wheel stops spinning. Number 1 is training, guys, okay? And I'm going to go through some little dot points, some little bullet points that I've got with training. And number 1 is you've got many different types of training splits. And when I'm doing these videos, they're going to be kind of very in generalities of what I think works best. So if you're sort of a beginner who hasn't been training that long, take my generality statements from this video, from each bit, and use it going forward. But there's so many different splits. There's, a 6-day-a-week push-pull legs, a 5-day-a-week push-pull legs. There's upper-lower splits, full body splits, bro splits, all of it. Okay? I've done them all. And I've done them all for long enough to grab the data to know what's good and what's not. And I've done them with clients over the years. I've done them with myself. So it's not only I'm just, experimenting on myself. I've done it with loads of other guys as well, because at that time I thought that was the best way forward. Now, I'm just going to give it to you straight. I believe a 5-day per week bro split is the best training split you can possibly do. And here's the why. It allows you to fully recover the muscle before going again, because most likely you're going to train the larger muscle groups only 1 time a week. When you tend to train the larger muscle groups over 2 to 3 times a week, they tend not to grow as well, because you grow better muscular-wise when you're resting. You also tend to burn more body fat when you're resting because you drop the inflammation in your body. And this is why I say a bro split is the best one. Over the last few years, everyone's gone mad about this push-pull legs. But what I find some issues with the push-pull leg split, for those that don't know, push-pull legs is push day, which is like chest, shoulders, and triceps. Back day, back and biceps, and legs is legs, right? And there's not usually an arm day, and some people mix them in and all this sort of stuff, and they'll do push-pull legs upper and lower and push-pull arms and all. Okay, cool, whatever thing you have going on there. If you think just training the muscle more is what's going to get you more progress, it's not, okay? Training the muscle hard and really breaking down that muscle tissue and then giving it time to recover and then some is what's going to give you the most amount of progress in your muscle building journey. It'll allow you to build the most body fat, perform the best. Your joints will thank you for it. And when you start to get to my sort of age, 35 and stuff, you're going to start to look a lot healthier and younger. And anyway, push-pull legs, I find, builds a blocky physique, okay? Thicker waists, not as aesthetic, and if you do it for long enough, your arms get small and you look a bit square. And it's not a great look, whereas a bro split won't overly load your body to build a square, and it will actually help you build more aesthetics because it's a balanced split. And this is a general statement. Now, some people need to work on their weak areas more than others, but that's something for you to figure out as you go, or whoever you're working with at the time. But I'd strongly recommend a bro split, okay? And that would be 1 muscle group on 1 day. You can do a little bit of top-up work on your arms before you have a full arm day, and that's fine because they're a smaller muscle group. But overall, a bro split is what's going to get you the best aesthetically pleasing physique. And I'm not just saying that. And people will say, well, but science this, science that. Look, experience trumps science all day of the week. I've been doing this too long. I've seen too many things. I've been through too many things. Stick with a bro split. I guarantee you'll build the most aesthetically pleasing physique that you've ever had in your life. Another part of training is intensity. I think that a lot of people can go in and just kind of go through the motions. What I'd say, if that's you, if you feel like you're kind of going through the motions, get a training partner or get a trainer. And I promise you they'll push you to new heights, which will double the rate of your progress. Why wouldn't you want that? People say, double your rate of your progress, train your muscle twice a week. No, train your muscle harder and then rest it and recover. So intensity is a massive, important part to your training. Another part to this is muscular contraction, okay? We're not power lifters. When trying to build an aesthetic, ripped physique, you're not powerlifting. You're not just moving weight from A to B. It's what you do in the middle that counts. So you want to put time under tension and ensure you're angling your body correctly so that you're actually using the muscle when you're training it. So muscular contraction is another really important part of your training principles. The next part is not being a pussy and pushing your pain threshold. You know, when you train in the gym consistently, you should be constantly pushing your pain threshold of pushing through those muscular contractions, which builds that pain, which builds that endurance, so that the next time you come back, you can push a little harder and a little stronger. And they're very minute things, but pushing your pain threshold is what's going to take you further in your training. So just because it hurts a little bit, good. Make it hurt more. Make it hurt more. Push your pain threshold, and eventually your pain threshold will go up and you'll be able to go through more things. And it starts to, I won't say it gets easier, but it gets much more enjoyable as you start to see progress because you're pushing your pain threshold. And now I'm not saying when you're pushing your pain threshold, if you feel something bad in your joint, you should push through it. No, you shouldn't. That's another story. But you know when you're using the muscle properly and when it's being overloaded, okay? And you're pushing that pain threshold further and further. The harder you push the pain threshold, the further you're going to get in your progress. And the last really important thing of training, I think, you know, people say, oh, you should do low reps, like 6 to 8 to build the most amount, or no, you should do 6 to 12 reps, which is like the middle range. No, you should do giant sets and supersets because you should build your endurance. Guys, you need to do all of it. You need to do strength training, which is low reps, hypertrophy training, which is medium reps, and higher reps, which is your muscular endurance training. I feel like there's a lost art of muscular endurance training because everyone just wants to train this sort of rep range of 6 to 8 or 6 to 12. But what about supersets, right? What about intensifiers? What about sets of 20? Go and load up a squat bar and do 20 reps and make it heavy and tell me how you feel after that versus doing it for like 6 reps. It's a completely different feeling. So you need to build up your muscular endurance by doing a higher rep range, which is going to accelerate your progress even further. And I call it the lost art of muscular contraction. Don't be afraid to go high reps and do some high volume where you need to. But I do believe you do need to cover all bases of strength, hypertrophy, and muscular endurance. The second part, the second spoke in the wheel. So we've just gone through spoke number 1. So the wheel's starting to churn. Spoke number 2 is your nutrition, guys. Wow, I could speak on this. Nutrition is something that I pretty much I didn't say that properly. Nutrition is something that I am one of the biggest experts in for making progress for people. And this is something that I never went to university to try to challenge or to try to study or to try and get certifications. It's literally all trial and error and my own studying and information that I've learned from mentors and things like that. But a massive amount of my progress has come from being an expert in nutrition. So, you know, there's so many ways to skin a cat, right? But I'm going to give these to you direct. And people will say, oh, keto's the best, or carnivore's the best, or there's so many different ways of dieting. But let me tell you what the best is. And I've done all these things, right? Intermittent fasting, and I've done all these things. Balanced macros. Balance your proteins, carbs, and fats. Don't neglect any of them. Low proteins, high fats, high proteins, no carbs, high fats, all this sort of stuff. I've done it all. And the best way to make the best amount of progress, right, is a balanced macro split. Obviously, a high protein diet is what you're going to need, but then you use your carbohydrates and your fats as your main energy sources. And I'm going to show you how to sort of balance them through nutrient timings. Okay, so obviously, as a young man, you want to have a high protein diet, especially if you're training what we said before, which is your bro split 5 days a week. Okay, you want to have a high protein diet, and it depends on your body size, but somewhere sort of between 200 and 300 grams of protein is going to be very adequate. Now, it's a high amount, yes, but this is what's going to help you break down the muscle and recover it the best way possible. I think too many people right now, especially bigger guys, are eating way too less protein, and they're just I don't know why. I really don't know why. High protein diets have worked since the beginning of time, so make sure your protein is high, up between 200 and 300 grams of carbs a day. Then there's the carbohydrate window, okay? So you're going to have consistently your proteins with every meal, okay? And make them all the consistent amount. What I would say, right, and depending on your goal, right, for meal 1, you want your normal protein amount normal carb amount, normal fat amount, okay? Very balanced. So proteins, carbs, and fats, especially if you've done cardio in the morning, of which we'll talk about after that. Now, a lot of people do just proteins and fats for breakfast, which I personally do at the moment, just because I like not spiking my insulin first thing in the morning. So I've got sort of a clear mind that I can focus on my work, because business is a really important part for me. However, if I was pushing my physique to where I really wanted it to be, then I'd almost have like my high protein, moderate carbs, and sort of low to moderate fats for meal one. And that's going to help me just feel good, get the ultimate recovery, because I've just done my cardio in the morning. Meal two, I'd probably just go proteins and lower fats, not too many carbohydrates. Again, trying to chisel down. It's really, the meal two is kind of like, let's say we're having 5 meals a day. For example, I have a lot of lifestyle guys doing 5 meals a day, and I have a lot of my competitors doing 6 meals a day. So it just depends on the workload for that. But I'm going to be talking about someone who's doing a 5 meal a day type of thing. But meal 2 and 3, they're kind of like if they're doing 6. So the meals 2 and 3 before your pre and post workout meal are kind of like just high protein, low carb, low fats kind of thing, just to sort of keep your metabolism ticking over, which is the next point of what we're going to talk about soon. Let's say your meal 3 or your meal 4 for bodybuilders if you're doing 6 meals, but meal 3 on a 5 meal split is your pre-workout meal. In this meal, we want your high protein, high carbohydrates, and then a little bit of fats to slow down the absorption of the carbohydrates. Because if we just go proteins and high carbs, you're going to spike your insulin levels, and halfway through your training, you're going to crash. But if we have a little sprinkle of carbohydrates on that, we're going to keep your insulin levels stable, and those carbohydrates are going to disperse perfectly over your train. Your carbohydrates are the glucose that are going to go in your muscle when you're pumping it, which creates glycogen, which is going to give you a better pump and a better contraction of the muscle in the gym so that you can push longer and stronger all the way through. The next meal would be your post-workout meal. Now, everyone has this, the post-workout window and this and that. It's not really that important. Personally, I like to eat after I train, because after I train, I'm hungry. However, you've kind of got like a 4-hour window between your pre and post-workout meal. Say if you're in a rush and you've got to eat 15 minutes before gym, isn't ideal, but if you need to, you do. Ideal would be 60 to 90 minutes. But let's say you had to eat 15 minutes before going to the gym. You go to the gym for an hour. You've still got 2 or 3 hours after it to eat. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But ideally, you want to eat like 60 to 90 minutes pre-training. And then I like to eat right after I train. I'm hungry, you know what I mean? But try and get it within an hour or so. But there's no specific post-workout window, but you don't want to leave it too long, because what you'll find is your blood sugars will drop and you'll start to feel a bit shaky and dizzy and things like that. Okay. And the next part of nutrition is, then we'd go to the last meal of the day, which I'd strongly recommend you just go like proteins and high fats. You'll sleep better. You're not spiking your insulin before bed. You'll find you'll have a better, longer REM sleep, which will, again, help you recover faster and get on there. But again, depending on where you're at. So if I was to break that down quickly, right, 5 meals a day, proteins, carbs, a little bit of fats. Meal 2, proteins, low carbs, little fats, just sort of a redundant meal. Pre-workout, proteins, high carbs, moderate to high fats to stop down the absorption, slow down the absorption of carbohydrates where you train. Post-workout, just protein and direct carbs, especially fast-acting ones, are going to be better for you. And then pre-bed, you could have like just proteins and higher fats. And that ideally is going to give you a good balance of nutrients. Again, it's general, okay? It's not direct to the person. I've done so many different methods with so many different people based on where they're at and where they're trying to get to. But that's just a general statement of what you want to do. Now, some people will say, but I only have 1 or 2 meals a day and I like to fast all day. And I'll get to that. But guys, you've got to respect thy metabolism. Those who have been following me for a long time know that I say that over and over and over again. Respect thy metabolism. This is why I'm big on having meal timings and not fasting all the way up to 1 p.m., then eating 1 or 2 meals, and then that'll do you for the day. You're going to make no progress that way, or very minimal progress at best, and you're going to get really skinny fat. Now, think of an older guy with a big gut who doesn't lose any weight, who is 50 or 60 years old and eats one meal a day. You'd think based on him eating one meal a day, why isn't he losing weight? It's because he's shut down his metabolism, so he's not going to lose any weight. And that's the problem with you guys thinking, I'm just going to fast because it makes me feel good and blah. But in your physique, you don't make any progress. You'll make minimal progress in the beginning, and then you'll just get skinny fat because your muscles will stop pushing against the skin, and then your body fat will just get soft, and you don't really churn any body fat because your metabolism isn't churning. What burns body fat is having your metabolism churning by constantly having your meal timings on point and having meals frequently, guys. You all know this deep down, okay? So bro split, frequent meal timings, respect the metabolism, given you the macro split. Pillar number 2, done, okay? These are very general statements, and I've just broken this down in the most clearest and best way possible so you can understand it. The next spoke in the wheel, spoke number 3, is your cardiovascular work. You have to be willing to do cardio. Oh no, what I'll do is I just won't eat and then I don't need to do cardio. Yes, you do. It speeds up metabolism, guys. This is a really important factor. Now, there's also this whole argument of, oh, should you do fasted or fed cardio? Scientifically proven that it doesn't matter what time you do cardio. Guys, it does, okay? Proven time and time again. I've had guys I've worked with do fed cardio. I've had guys I work with do fasted cardio. The guys that do fed cardio nowhere near make as much progress as the guys that do fasted. I've done both personally. I've done both with the same client, and they can all agree they didn't make as much progress because they did it fed over fasted. Wake up, fasted state, drink your water, have your supplements, whatever it is, go and do your cardio. You feel good for doing it. It's something you've accomplished early in the day. And you're going to keep the fat burning process going forward throughout the day because you've done your cardio in a fasted state. Now, what sort of cardio can you do? Okay, and how much should you do? I say this, mentally, you should say, you know what, to get to my goal, if I need to do 3 hours of cardio a day and eat dust for the next year, I'm willing to do it, because anything that comes underneath that is easy. Okay, so as long as your mindset is there, no problem. Now, I'm not saying I've ever had anyone do 3 hours of cardio a day, but as long as you've got that mindset of being able to do it, you'll be more than fine. Start with 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Slowly increment it by 5 minutes every fortnight or so, maybe up to 60 minutes, depending on how your fat loss and getting to where you want to be is going. Okay, what type of cardio should you be doing? There's low intensity steady state cardio, which is sort of keeping your heart rate between about 120 and 135 beats per minute at a constant steady pace, which I would agree is probably the best for helping you preserve muscle and for getting you the best sort of easiest way without fatiguing you, so you can put more of your effort into pushing in your weight training. So I'd say that's probably a good way to do it. Okay. That can be an incline walk, a bike, a cross trainer. I wouldn't recommend Stairmaster because that can really sort of elevate your heart rate through the roof. And I'd mostly say the Stairmaster is good for people that want to go extreme and get on stage. That's a really good way to do it, especially for those that have a stubborn body fat and kind of needs to push through and sort of doing things. You've also got HIIT cardio, which I'm a massive advocate of. However, you got to know that if you're doing HIIT cardio, it's sort of going to fatigue you a little bit more. And mostly I'd say for HIIT cardio, it's good for people that need to sort of speed up their fat loss if you're on a time frame and you need to kind of get ahead. Adding in sort of 10 minutes of HIIT, 20-second sprint, 40-second cruise, or perhaps a 30-second run and a 60-second walk continuously over for 10 minutes after your list cardio is a good way to sort of push that if you need to. Then for the lifestyle, guys, there's a few other good activities that I would say. All right, and I'm not going to talk about step counting. Don't even get me started on that. I'll talk about that very soon, but don't count your steps. You're wasting time. You're wasting energy. It's not a pillar. It's not important. And Other outside activities, like I like to do boxing, for example. I love boxing. I love combat sports. I love fighting. So I use boxing as a tool to do cardio once or twice a week. But what I don't want to do is let it fatigue me so bad that I struggle in my weights. So that's why I limit it to only once or twice a week. So there's other activities you can do, like sports, that can be good for cardio if you find the conventional cardio a little bit boring, guys. So going through again from the beginning, spoke number 1, bro split 5 days a week. Number 2, I've gone through your macro split and your amount of meals and things like that. Number 3, I've gone through your cardio, start at 5 days per week for 30 minutes list, see how that goes. If you need to adapt, if you need to push harder, you want to swap one for boxing or et cetera, you can do. So you've got 3 little general pillars right there that you can do. As we move on to pillar number 4, which is your supplementation, guys. Keeping your body in good, healthy order is really going to help you get ahead. Health markers are so important, right? So when you weight train, you deplete, right? You deplete yourself of essential nutrients, which is why we replenish them with supplements to keep your immune system strong. This is what a lot of people don't understand. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight into some health supplements and some gym supplements you could take that will help you excel your progress and keep you healthy. Because when you feel healthy and you feel good, you perform better, you make better progress. And supplement number 1, right, I would say, is a super greens formula. And you should be having that every morning, which will give you the nutrients that you don't get from eating veg. Nobody eats enough vegetables to get the nutrients they want, which is why I say you should supplement with super greens. Every single morning, 1 scoop of super greens is going to help you get the nutrients you need, especially because you're working hard and you're depleting a lot of nutrients in your body through weight training, cardio, et cetera, et cetera. Get a super greens in you. It'll make your gut thank you a lot more. It'll help with your nutrient uptake as well. It'll help the body absorb the nutrients that you eat and push it to the areas that you want for recovery. It's almost like a pathway. The next one is psyllium husk fiber. It's exactly the same. You want your gut firing on all cylinders. If you can get a soluble and insoluble fiber, even better. Another one is vitamin C. And don't be afraid to load up. I sort of have a lot of guys between 2,000 and 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day, especially because, again, you're depleting it. It's keeping your immune system strong. It's keeping you healthy. It's keeping you performing well. Your essential fatty acids, your omega-3s, again, you don't really get enough from food. So we want to be taking a good amount of that. You know, a serving in the morning and a serving at night is absolutely perfect. Vitamin D is a iffy one. If you need to take it, take it. I have guys take it year round, whether they live in a hot country or a cold country. Sort of 6,000 units a day minimum, I'd say is good. Anywhere up to 10,000 units if you have a vitamin D deficiency. A probiotic to help kill the bad bacteria in your gut and produce good bacteria is another good one. And then to help you with nutrient uptake, digestive enzymes for perhaps meals that you don't feel like they're going down all the way. If you want to take it to another level, I don't recommend everyone needs to do this, but going to get a food intolerance test would be a strong move. So you've got the data to understand what foods your body is absorbing and what foods aren't. I remember I had a client years ago that he was doing everything on point, but his body just wasn't budging. His digestion was good. He felt good. Body wasn't budging. Weird. Why is that? Go and get a food intolerance test. We had him eating eggs twice a day per se. Eggs in the morning, eggs pre-bed. And eggs flagged up as a red light food. So we couldn't feed him eggs. So as soon as we took that out, his body just absorbed like a sponge and it moved like crazy, just as we thought it would, as we predicted it would. But we didn't know that eggs were ruining him. I'm not saying eggs are bad. This is just a rarity and an example, but go and get a food intolerance test. Sorry, I'm talking too much. Go and get a food intolerance test, and that's going to really help you understand the nutrients and the foods that your body can have to make you progress even further. It's a little bit expensive, but it is worth it. And you only really need to get it one time and you already know what you got. So there's your health supplements, some gym supplements that I'd say are quite good. I'm not going to give you a massive list to make you spend a hell of a lot of money, but creatine monohydrate is pretty good, anywhere from 5 to 10 milligrams per day. Personally, I like to have 5 pre-workout and 5 intra-workout. I find that that just works the best rather than sort of splitting it up everywhere over the day. Glutamine, okay, anywhere from 20 milligrams to 30 milligrams a day is good. Split that up once in the morning. You have one pre-workout or one post-workout, or if you're only having 20 milligrams, go 10 milligrams in the morning, 10 milligrams post-workout. What that will do is it'll help line your intestines in your gut to help you with more nutrient uptake. And then the next one is amino acids. They're not overly important, but they kind of taste nice and they can kind of help you with recovery a little bit. But I wouldn't say they're a necessity. But if it is something that you're really serious in taking, you can add them in. Again, I usually have like 5 pre-workout and 5 intra-workout, which isn't much at all. So that's the 3. No, we don't. How many pillars have we done? Training, nutrition, cardio, supplementation. We're up to spoke number 5, guys. Spoke number 5, okay, we've done 4 spokes. The wheel isn't spinning. I'm about to add in spoke number 5, and that's going to make the wheel churn, is your rest and hydration. I put them together as one because they kind of sort of work together as one. Now, make sure if you're training intensely and hard, you're having sort of a minimum of 4 liters per day, anywhere up to 6 liters per day if you live in a hot place. I think this is what's really going to be important. But make sure you're drinking mineral water. Okay, something that has minerals in it that's going to actually absorb in your body, and you're not just going to flush it out and not do it. Now, I had an issue a couple of years ago. I ended up with a heart arrhythmia. Very strange. Don't know why. Okay, my heart just wasn't beating, and I went to hospital. Said, yeah, you're having a heart arrhythmia. They did some blood tests, and I was severely dehydrated. And I was drinking like 7 liters of water a day, but I was doing like 2 hours of outdoor cardio a day plus weights, so 3-4 hours training every single day, and I was severely dehydrated. And I'm thinking, how's that even possible? I wasn't drinking mineral water. Who'd have thought? So important to make sure you're drinking high quality mineral water to help give you the hydration that you need. On top of that, you should be having salt with your meals to help you as almost like a digestive pathway for the water to get into the muscle and to get into the bloodstream to help keep you hydrated. Now, you don't want to overdo the salt. Have a little play with it, see how you go. A little bit of salt, like 1 gram on each meal, is more than adequate. And I'd go something like a high quality salt, like a Himalayan pink salt over just some fake refined table salt. Resting is going to be overly important. Now, when you're in your 20s, I don't think rest is that important because you're so young, your testosterone is so high, everything's feeling good. You could almost like rip your own arm off and it'll just grow back. But when you get in your 30s, you need to take it much more seriously. I think in your 30s, you should be doing like a yoga class once a week. Hey, I'm guilty of that. I'm a bit, I don't do it as much as I should, and I think you should be doing ice baths 2 or 3 times a week with saunas 2 or 3 times a week and perhaps massage once a week, especially when you get in your 30s, because you'll find your body start to not recover like it used to. So you have to take those things more seriously. Plus your sleep. Again, in your 20s, I didn't think sleep was that important. I didn't sleep a hell of a lot in my 20s because I was too busy working and focusing on what I needed to do. But now I'm in my 30s, I'm taking that a lot more seriously and I'm finding my recovery to be a lot better. So there's a few things that you really need to focus on, and they're the 5 pillars of progress, okay? You take one spoke out of that wheel, you don't make the progress that you want to. Now, let me break that down in a generality. So you're training, okay, 5 days a week, bro split. Great. Nutrition, okay, I've given you a macro split, sort of about the amounts that you need to be doing, and you need to kind of figure out how much you need to be eating, all right? Kind of figure that out on your own and see how your body is responding. I've given you the nutrient timings you have and shown you why you should respect the metabolism. I've given you a cardio regime that you can start with straight away. Again, adapt it as you go based on your own progress. I've given you supplement protocols to keep you healthy and performing in the gym as best way possible. When you deplete nutrients and vitamins in your body, you need to replenish them to keep your immune system strong. And then I've just gone through the rest and hydration. So if you take every single thing that I just taught you and make them the main things that you focus on, you're going to make incredible progress. But the problem is people are focusing on the wrong things due to over information that's out there. Stop focusing on counting steps, guys. I've been saying this for so long, and it almost frustrates me to the point. Don't count your steps. Make your steps count. You are not elderly. You are not obese. You are a young, fit adult. And if you need to track steps in order to count the calories burned from it, you are wasting your time when you could be putting your time and energy onto the 5 pillars of progress that I just went through. Stop fasting. I said that before. Everyone says, oh, but I just fast. I just fast because it makes me feel good and I make better progress. No, you don't. Your physique doesn't look good. Most people that fast, they look skinny fat. They don't get the muscle they want. They don't burn the body fat that they want. They don't get to where they want to be. And that's because they've shut down their metabolism. I gave the example of the older person that eats 1 meal a day that has a massive gut that doesn't lose any weight. It's because they've got no metabolism. And the more you continue to do fasting and the more you keep shutting your metabolism down, the less progress you're going to make, and the harder it is in the future, it is going to be burned to body fat when it comes your time to do so. Stop reinventing the wheel and jumping onto the newest fads. I've literally just given you a blueprint that if you follow consistently and work like a savage for 1 year, you're going to be in a completely different physical condition in a year's time. Not only that, your mind's going to be stronger, you're going to make more money, you're going to attract more women. So this is a first pillar that you're going to go through. Remember, I'm going through 4 pillars. Fitness is going to be number 1 because everything else is going to make it easy coming off the back of it. And the number 1 thing you need to focus on before I wrap up, guys, and you're going to hate hearing this, consistency. I hate the word consistency, but it's true. The more consistent you are in every endeavor that you pursue, the further you're going to take it. How many people do you know, 1 minute they're an online coach, next minute they're this, next minute they're a crypto, next minute they're this, and they get nowhere and they pretend like they are? That's because they're not consistent with one path going forward. Imagine the guy that is consistent for a month at this, then it's consistent for a month of that, and consistent for a month of that. He doesn't move forward anywhere. But the guy that's consistent with one thing just keeps going like this. And over time, he's going to be so far ahead of this guy that just zigzags, that this guy that zigzags is no longer even going to see this guy as competition anymore. He's just the one that can't be beat. Thank you for tuning in, guys. See you next time for the next pillar. Bye for now.